Hi everybody, I'm Pia from Stitches and Scraps, and if you follow me at all, you've probably seen this bag. This is my Edgewater bag. Today I'm going to be adding a little bit of trim to the flap by needle felting with just some scrap fiber that I have. So I want to show you how to do that. So what I have here is a piece of foam. I actually got this at a needle felting workshop when I first learned how to do needle felting last year. I think it's just regular styrofoam, but you can buy all sorts of felting sponges and things like that. Anything that's soft enough for the needle to go in, that's thick enough also to protect your table and the needle from getting damaged. This one in particular, I store the needle inside the foam because it's a nice safe place to store it. So here is my felting needle, and I know they come in different shapes and sizes. This one is a triangular tip, and I'm not really sure what size it is, but I think it will do the job for what I am looking for. So set that aside somewhere safe. I'm going to take my foam and put it underneath the edge of my flap, and I have this fiber. I'm not sure what breed it is, but it's just some wool for felting. You can get all sorts of loose wool. It's wool roving, or you could get wool top. Doesn't really matter for something like this. Roving is usually best for felting if you're making like a three-dimensional object or something, but this is fine for what I'm doing. So I pulled off a little piece, and I'm going to kind of separate it out a little bit. I'm just grabbing the end so that the fibers pull apart. I don't want to rip it. I don't want any thin spots. I just want to make the whole thing a little more ropey. Okay, that seems about right. Now I'm going to be putting this on as a little like line near the edge. So I'm going to actually roll this a little bit on my table to kind of make a nice, actually I'll just roll it in my fingers, to kind of make that nice little rope. You don't have to do this. I just find that it's easier than to get the placement right. It's kind of felting it just a little bit with my fingers because my fingers are warm, and the agitation will help it to stick together. There, so I've got like a little slightly twisted tube of fiber that is going to become my little ribbon edge here, or not ribbon, what would you call it? I don't even know. But anyway, I want it to go like this. The button is going to sit right there. So I think I want it like this. I could do like this, but no, I think I want it like this, around the tip here. So I'm going to go ahead and start right here at the tip and just lay this down where I want it. Take my needle and just start poking basically, and that'll help secure it into place. Now be very careful with the tip of this needle. It's really, really sharp. You don't want to hurt yourself, and be sure to always go up and down in the exact same direction. If you put it down kind of at an angle and then try to pull it up straight, you will break your needle. The needles are very delicate. So at first I'm just doing a couple little pokes just to get it secured in there, and then I will get it, once I get it in place for a little ways here, then I'll fine tune it. So I want it right there. And I'm just tucking it in, and what the needle's doing, it has little barbs on it, so it kind of shreds the fiber a little bit and gets it to stick to itself. And that's basically how needle felting works. So let's just focus in on this now. Now I'm going a little faster because I'm trying to get it to really stick. And I want this a little bit thinner. So I'm going to go ahead and go in at an angle, but I'm also going to pull it out at the same angle. So be careful of that. And again, very careful of your fingers here. Don't poke your fingers. I've poked my fingers a lot doing this, and it hurts. And then I'm going to tuck in the edges here as well. I'm basically just going to keep doing this for the whole length of it until I've got it nice and secured. And once you get it in place and you like the shape of it, you can go a little faster. You can see how I'm kind of scooping up the fiber and pulling it into position where I want it to get that nice thin bead that I'm looking for. I do have another needle felting tool that I haven't even opened yet, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to open it right here in front of you guys. This is the Clover pen style needle felting tool, which has 3 little needles instead of just the 1. So here's that tool, and it comes with a little cap, which I'm just putting aside. But you can see it's basically got 3 little needles sticking out of it instead of 1. So that makes the felting part go a little bit faster. It's a little harder to work, and you've got to be really careful not to stick yourself. But it's like every time you stick it, you get 3 sticks instead of 1. So that's helpful as well. There we go. Now I think I've got that front end felted pretty well. So I'm going to go around and just keep going around the length of this, and I'll show it to you when it's all done. So I've got my whole strip laid down in place where I want it to be, and I'm coming to the end where I kind of want it to trail off into the corner. So I'm going to actually stick my finger here and pull on these fibers until they start to come apart. Okay, just like that. And now I'm going to fold this under to get a nice clean edge, because it's just a fluffy little bit. So I fold it under to get a nice clean edge like that. And that should be just about right. And I can tweak it and pull on it a little bit to get it into the corner where I want it. And now once this edge goes down, I have the whole strip in place and kind of locked in, like it's all in place, but it doesn't look particularly neat, right? I mean, it's kind of still lumpy and bumpy. So this is where I'm going to put my cap on my needle felting tool and go take my single needle and fine tune it. Felting is something that does not happen all at once. You cannot force this, you cannot rush it. You have to go slowly and deliberately with it. Just let it happen as it happens, because if you try to rush it, you're going to break your needle or you're going to stab yourself. Those are the 2 things that are likely to happen. So just go slowly in from the edges at a diagonal and pull it back out at the same diagonal, and that will make the line thinner. And I'm going to keep doing that until I have the whole thing where I want it. And you can see how I'm kind of pulling the fiber in from the edge to make the line nice and thin, and then locking it down in place. And I will come back when I've done that for the whole section. Now I have everything aligned nicely with my individual needle. So you can see I've got this nice thin line exactly where I want it. So now I'm going to kind of dig it into place a little bit more with my 3 needle tool again. And this is, again, the only reason I switched to this is it's faster. It's 3 needles instead of 1 for every time you push down on it. So I'm just going to really go over each spot now and work it all the way in until it's completely flat and joined, and there's just no way it's ever coming out. And you want to make sure when you're needle felting that you're not using your wrist. It's a great way to get a repetitive strain injury in your wrist if you use your wrist too much. You want to be bringing the needle up and down with your whole arm, not bending your wrist. You should be bending at the elbow, not at the wrist. And you can see this is going much faster now because everything's in place, and I'm just kind of pushing it in now. So there's no shaping going on, I'm just joining now. And it might stick a little to your sponge, that's okay. And just keep moving it. And there we have it. I have one side done. A nice little ribbon of brown along the edge of my purse. So now I get to do the other side of the flap, and I do it exactly the same way. As far as joining, there's really no joining. You just take the next piece and lay it on top and start hammering it in. I want to get a thin edge though, so that I don't bulk up too much right where it's overlapping. So I'm pulling this kind of thin just to overlap it a bit, and then I will roll it up lay it in place, overlap over there. And again, first I'm going to tack it down just a little bit, just to get it generally in place. This is a little too thick, so I'm going to grab the ends and pull to thin it out. That's called drafting in spinning if you're a spinner. And then I'm just putting it in place a little bit, and then again I'm going to take my little needle, the single needle, and use that around the edges. See this, how it's rough here? It's got that little bubble. I'm going to just pull that around, and one little stroke at a time, push that into place where I want it to be. And that's really all it is. Just use your needle to tell it where to go. And now I've got kind of a seamless round edge around my button. So I'm going to continue to do the other side, and then I'll show you the finished flap when it is all done. And there it is, my finished bag, and it has that nice little bead of trim around the edge now. I really like the way it turned out. I hope you do too. And if you're looking for the pattern for the bag, it's called Edgewater, and it's on my site at stitchesandscraps.com. You'll find some other great tutorials and patterns there too, so I hope you'll check them out. And thanks for watching.